were implemented on that 20th Constitution Day. Whereas the blacks and other communities, and even you see, once I was in London and there I saw a coin, 50-50. That was a 50 cent I think, and 50-year celebration of women's voting.
Yes, very nice.
So I tell you, because of Babasaheb's lifelong struggle, we have earned so many rights. And I tell you, those rights are so valuable, so inalienable, for which I tell you, other communities are struggling in their respective countries even today. They are not getting those rights. Say for example, I tell you, when Obama was elected as a president, he made a promise to the people in the US that he will bring the pay parity between genders. But he could not implement that when he was in the first time office for 4 years. He had to build a consensus for that in the US, and then he implemented when he was in a second time in the office. Whereas in our constitution, Babasaheb laid the foundation for equal pay for equal work without any discrimination based upon any kind of thing, caste and gender and status, many other things which are there in Article 15 and 16 and 14 of the Constitution. So I tell you, if you look back, our future is, being woven very beautifully, I tell you. It's a very beautiful, past last 100 years. And probably we will have a most beautiful picture, a most beautiful future in coming few years. Ambedkar is emerging as a global icon. That is one of the most important things that's taking place. He has already attained the, recognition that he is the single most revered icon of this country. Today I saw that the president of India was in Bhubaneswar. There she must have directed the officials to organize a program there to pay respect to Babasaheb, and then she tweeted photos. The Prime Minister has also tweeted 2 important photos which were taken earlier in this year, and then 2 days event he attended. Everyone in this country is paying respect to Babasaheb for whatever reason. They may have political reasons, they may have some other compulsions, but Babasaheb is now India's single most favored person as a leader, as an idol, as a champion of human rights. If Chief Justice goes anywhere, he just mentions Babasaheb. Is it? Today I have seen that the Chief Justice in Madras High Court was paying respect to Babasaheb. And I simply video. Somebody has sent me a video from Madras High Court. And they were shouting slogans of Babasaheb. In the High Court, in the Supreme Court, same thing took place. It was very distant dream before few years. But now, I have a kind of, feeling that Babasaheb will be India's global icon very soon. And I think that might happen, that may happen just in coming few years. Therefore, we should be very optimistic about our future. I am very optimistic. I have seen 2 elections, very important 2 elections, which have recently taken place in our country. The first election is of 2024, general elections to the Lok Sabha. And second is now, which is recently concluded in Maharashtra. You must have seen that the 2024 election is woven around the Constitution and Ambedkar. Only Constitution and Ambedkar. And the one party was saying that the Constitution is under threat. Another party was trying to prove that the Constitution is not under threat. And they were all speaking words, not on the names of Hegrevar, not on the names of Golwalkar, not on the names of Gandhi, Nehru and other people, but only on the name of Babasaheb, Dr. Ambedkar, Phule and Shahu and other icons of Bahujan Samaj. So therefore, I think this is the 21st century of Ambedkarite people. When I was very young, I tell you, I was attending BSP rallies. That was 2000, 2002 somewhere. And Kanshiramji had given us a slogan that 21वीं सदी हमारी है अब बहुजन की बारी है. So that time, I was feeling like, that our century is coming. Our time to rule this country is coming. And that's, I think, somehow getting possible. So 2024 elections were concluded only on a theme of Constitution and Ambedkar. Rights of people, threat to the Constitution. And likewise, the Maharashtra elections have been recently concluded on the names of our icons. In fact, you would be surprised, I was just visiting my home a few days back, and I have seen some old newspapers, and on the old newspapers, the Bharatiya Janata Party had advertised in newspaper, and there were 7 icons on the top of the advertisement. One was belonging to Shivaji Maharaj, one was Shivaji, Babasaheb, Jyotiba Phule, Savitribai Phule, Birsa Munda, and Ahilyabai Holdkar. No Savarkar, no Hegrewan, no Gandhi, no one. So therefore, I tell you, the future is very, very bright for all of you. And I think that this is an opportunity for all of us to emerge, to start ruling this country, to frame the opinion of the people. This is not just happening in vacuum, I tell you. No political party will, campaign surrounding the Ambedkarite ideology or the Ambedkarite icons. There is a current in the society. They know that they are getting votes because of these people. They are getting an opportunity to rule this country because of these icons. If they fail to mention these icons, they will not be elected, I tell you. So therefore, they are building their campaigns surrounding this ideology. They know politicians are more wise people than many others, I tell you, in the society. They know many more things. They know the society more better than many of us. So therefore, we should be very optimistic. What we have achieved in the last 70 or 75 years, we are celebrating the 75 years of the Constitution. And then, Babasaheb started his career in 1920. So, 100 years, 125 years, when he began his career. There are 3-4 important things. The first most important thing is that he wanted to bring an end to untouchability. Second, he wanted to put an end to the caste system. Third, he wanted equality for everyone. And fourth, he wanted that there should be no discrimination of any kind in the society. And fifth, that he wanted you people should rule this country. That five things he wanted. When he began, I tell you, he laid down the foundation of the Constitution in 1927. In 1927, he burnt Manusmriti. That same time, he entered the Chaudat tank in Mahar and passed a resolution. In that resolution, there is one resolution which says that the sanction of law means the sanction of the Constitution. The sanction of law must emanate from the people, not from the religion. That is the first declaration of the Constitution. He passed in 1927, and that is why you see Article 13 in the Constitution. The Article 13 says Manusmriti is abolished. In other words, because it says that those laws which were not in consonance, which are derogatory to article which are placed in fundamental rights sections of the Constitution, are void to the Constitution. He declared outrightly in the Constitution that all those laws which are derogatory, which are affront to the fundamental rights, are declared void, and Parliament cannot make such laws in future also. So therefore, He has abolished the untouchability, he has abolished the caste system, he has abolished the Manusmriti, he has abolished such other religious texts which promote the discrimination. So therefore, legally there is no discrimination in this country, but some remnants of the discrimination are still existing. Those are in the psyche of the people. Babasaheb said the caste is a notion of people, it's a notion of mind. So that is in the notion of the people. Because that has been a training over generations. People have learned the caste in generations. The caste is not evolved in one generation or two generations. It has been a phenomenon of last several centuries. So therefore, we will have to, put more efforts so that people unlearn the caste. They unlearn the discrimination. Babasaheb, in his own lifetime, abolished everything. Constitution doesn't promote any caste discrimination. It does, rather it fosters the opportunity to the people who are discriminated by the caste. So therefore, the most important factor is that he laid down the foundation. We have to build upon that foundation. We must endeavor, or we must build a campaign so that people unlearn the caste, so that people unlearn the behavior of discrimination. And that is when we can usher into a bright age. Friends, as I was telling you that there are 4 or 5 things most important that has taken place in the last century, and therefore we are here. Babasaheb, there are so many things, but first and foremost that he wanted the adult suffrage for everyone. The British were not ready. British said that they will not be giving the right to vote to everyone. That was in 1931-32. They said we will not be giving the right to vote to everyone. And they did not give, I tell you. Until 1947, nobody was having the right to vote. Means it was a qualified vote.
Yeah.
Some people were having the right to vote. Some others were not having the right to vote. There were some qualifications. It was not on the basis of age. So British were not ready, and therefore he put forward his demand for this separate electorate. The separate electorate was never his demand, I tell you. But the British were not ready for the adult suffrage, and therefore he was left with no option but to put forward his demand for the separate electorate. That was met with. But then Gandhiji was the most shrewd man in this country. He was the most shrewd man. When he came to know that the British have accepted Ambedkar's 2-3 important demands, particularly that British had accepted to abolish the untouchability and the caste system. So there was a discussion between Lord Chancellor, is the head of the House of Commons, and Babasaheb during the roundtable conferences. And the Lord Chancellor have promised Babasaheb that they will abolish the caste system. And therefore, there is no need to abolish the untouchability. The Lord Chancellor was telling us, since we are abolishing the caste system, we do not need to abolish the untouchability because it comes from the caste system. So Babasaheb disagreed with him and said that untouchability is a different phenomenon. And even when you abolish the caste system, you will require to abolish the untouchability separately. And then he tried to explain them why untouchability is different and why caste discrimination is different. The British accepted, and they accepted these 3 important demands: that they will abolish untouchability, that they will abolish caste system, and that they will give everybody in the future adult suffrage, but right now they will give separate electorate to Babasaheb, means the Dalit community. Therefore, you see in the constitution, so many people have asked me this question. Therefore, you see in the constitution there are separate provisions for abolition of untouchability under Article 70, separate provision for abolition of caste system under Article 15 of the Constitution. So these have come from the second roundtable conferences. So when Gandhiji came to know that, the British have accepted the demand for abolition of untouchability, he went to England, registered the demands, came back to India and started Harijan Sevak Sangha to abolish the untouchability, which British had already promised to abolish. The British had already promised to abolish the untouchability, and therefore Gandhiji came back in India, immediately started Harijan Sevak Sangh, so that he wanted to tell people that I am behind this abolition of untouchability. I want to, abolish the untouchability. So that kind of sure Gandhiji was. So therefore I tell you, today I was interacting with the Google Gemini. I said, tell me few people who are most influential in India. So he mentioned Gandhi. I said, why are you mentioning Gandhiji? He said, because he is considered a father of nation. He is officially a father of nation. I said, he is not an official father of nation. He said, my apologies. So Gemini said, apologies. The government has clarified to an RTI application that he has not been given any title of father of nation. I said, okay. Then he said, now he promoted the independence of the country. I said, there are three important things. The first most important thing that in 1945, the United Nations adopted the Charter of United Nations. And there they paved way for the self-determination. So the countries will have right to self-determination. And India is the first country under which the independence has been granted by the British. That because of that, the commitment they have made to the world nations in the United Nations through the Charter. So I said it is through the Charter. And then World War III, World War II, the British have become so weakened that they could not, rule this country, and therefore they had to exit. So then Gemini accepted, you are right. You are right. The independence is not because of Gandhi, but because of 1945 Charter, and because the British, because of the World War II, could not rule over India so effectively because they had weakened their capacities. So I tell you, so much lie has been built in this country over a period of time. We have to reverse that. Why I am telling you this thing? Because we have to reverse that. If we do not reverse that, future generations will be encountered with that lie. So therefore, the second most important thing that we should do immediately is that we should reverse that lie, which has been built over a period of time. I think the Google is accepting all that lie because it is reading the material which has been produced by the people who support that idea. So we have not produced the literature which Google can read, and on the basis of which can come to the conclusion that Gandhi is not the role model for the freedom movement. He is not the only person for which the India has been granted freedom. So that kind of things we will have to reverse. So this is our responsibility. I am telling you this because you are an academician, future academician. Many of you will become professors. Some of you will become a researcher, and some of you will also author books, I think. So that's why I am of the opinion that you should work on it. Further, I want to tell you that we should not build a gloomy picture. There are so many people, that they tend to, portray a very gloomy picture of our future. See, when I came to New Delhi in 2008, and then after YouTube was introduced in a few years thereafter. So I was invited to deliver a lecture in law department in Hyderabad University, Usmania University. There somebody came to me and said, why there is no photo of Babasaheb in Supreme Court? So I gave him a bite. And I said that there is a requirement of Babasaheb photo in Supreme Court, portrait in Supreme Court. So we'll go back to Supreme Court and tell the Chief Justice that there you should place, you should unveil the Babasaheb portrait somewhere in Supreme Court. That happened after 2 years thereafter. And now we have a statue. Now we have a life-size statue. So in these 10 years itself, you don't think that a statue in Supreme Court has been installed only because some judge wanted to have a statue in the Supreme. That never happens, I tell you. Nothing happens in this country unless you have a national consensus for something. You think that we are holding a program here without a national consensus? We are holding a program here because there is a national consensus that this program will take place here in JNU or anywhere else. So there is a national consensus that we should accept Babasaheb Ambedkar as our national icon. There is a national consensus, without which you would not have seen so many people celebrating on 14th October, morning on 6th December. So this is an excellent opportunity. We should clinch that opportunity. How should we clinch that opportunity, I tell you? It's very easy. You should know how to build public opinion. Our people have been, those who were not knowing how to build public opinion, have built the public opinion, and brought this caravan up to this level. Past generation people, they were not tech savvy, I tell you, new generation is very tech savvy. They are very aware. Yesterday's example, I'll tell you that, I told my son, he's studying in 6th grade. I told him that, you see, Taylor Swift's program would cost you $3,500. One ticket for Taylor Swift's live program will cost. He said, even if it is sold at ₹1, I will not buy it. I said, why? I said, I like some other, Travis Scott. I said, why do you like Travis Scott? He said, there will be an earthquake if his program is taken in his own land. He said, the people will be jumpy. So a child who is studying in grade 6 knows this kind of thing, I tell you. So, think about the future. The new generation will be very, very competent because of the advancement of the artificial intelligence. Now the children have been given the opportunity to use the artificial intelligence in the school itself. Now, another child is in 3rd. She has been told to bring laptop in the school, and they use the artificial intelligence. In 6th also they are using the artificial intelligence. And I tell you, with the advancement of the artificial intelligence and the communication technology, the new generation will be very, very advanced generation. And it will be very, very difficult for you to build their opinion. They will not be easily accepting your versions. And therefore, you should now sow the seeds in the younger generation. It says now itself, sow the seeds. You should teach them what is caste. You should teach them what is caste discrimination. You should teach them what is Ambedkar's crusade. You should teach them what is the equality movement. You should teach them about Savitribai Phule. You should tell them the history. You must tell them the history, that what happened in this country, so that when they grow up, they should not, meet with any kind of discrimination. And if they are meeting with discrimination, they should retaliate with all the vigor and force. So, therefore, I am saying that there is a requirement of building a public opinion against 3-4 things. First is that there will be no rule without the consent of people. And there will be no rule, no party will rule this country without the consent of our people. No rule in disguise of the consent. Means whatever the political parties are making you promise, giving you promise in political rallies, those should be implemented in letter and spirit. That consensus is required to be built. We do not have that kind of consensus in this country. Means during the elections they make some promises and they do something exactly opposite to what they have told people during the elections. So we have to build consensus on the political accountability of the political parties or the ruling governments. We do not have that kind of thing. Second important thing is that we should bring everybody on board, whether he is from an upper caste or whether he is from a lower caste or somebody is from an intermediate class. We should bring them on board on our ideology. There should be consensus on one most important thing, and that is that there would be no compromise with the treatment. There would be no compromise on equality. There will be no compromise on discrimination, and there will be no compromise on the constitution and ethos of the constitution. So this kind of consensus we will have to build, national opinion we will have to build. So these things, I think with these things we can march ahead. Fourth and fifth things I will tell you, that we are lacking in global opinion. Means, like somebody yesterday we have come across to a newspaper article that India is the country where most people die. So it is number one in fabricating and facts and misinformation. This is a country of misinformation. Now, you see, I tell you, there are so many organizations in the world, they work in building the global opinion. And for that, they try to, settle the scores with the countries. They try to, suppress the development of some countries, third world countries. There is an opinion against third world countries, Eastern world. So we should not be swayed by these kind of things. If some opinion comes from foreign, like there was an opinion that India has an electoral democracy. India does not have a democracy. India has an electoral democracy. See, what's the most important thing is that we are a very new democracy. We are not an old democracy. We have just, finished 75 years, but half of that period was like, there was no democracy. Means people were just voting. And you would have seen that. You must have heard about it, that, the ballot papers were being, ballots were being hijacked, the elections were being hijacked. There was a lathi danda and all kinds of things were taking place for half of the period of our democracy. So we are just a new democracy. So if somebody says that we are just an electoral democracy, we should counter that. See, when the SC, ST people, OBC people, the most marginalized people have started playing role in the democratic process. We have started playing an important role in democratic process. That is when people have started calling us an electoral democracy, a mere election democracy. So I tell you, we should celebrate our participation in the democracy, which was never there. Now we have all the election issues surrounding us. In Maharashtra, somebody asked me that, look, people are voting just because they are being given the 1500 rupees. The women have been promised to give 1500 rupees and they would be voting to an incumbent government. I said they should do it because 1500 rupees may not be that much bigger amount for you, because you go to Starbucks, have a coffee there along with your friends and pay from 1500 rupees, but for that 1500 rupees is like 15,000 rupees. So why should not they vote for it? Is it not? So I tell you, this is a very complex society. India is a very complex society. 100 rupees may be a kind of bigger amount for you. That 100 rupees is the most important amount for somebody. So therefore, from the perspective of Ambedkar ideology, we should see that how progress is. we have made a lot of progress. The untouchability is almost over. There some incidences are there, cases are there, obviously, but the upfront, like the earlier days, that is not there. The caste discrimination is there, institutions are there, like Supreme Court Collegium is there. That is the I tell you, the severe form of, that is an example of severe form of caste discrimination. Supreme Court Collegium system is a severe form of caste discrimination. So these are challenges still there. So therefore, we should look at the challenges also. What are the challenges before the democracy? The first and foremost challenge before the democracy is that people promise to implement the constitution, but they do not implement the constitution. That is the biggest problem. You must have come across to a demonetization. Thereafter, the Aadhaar Act was passed. You know Aadhaar Act? Aadhaar Act was passed as a money bill in the parliament, whereas it has nothing to do with the money. It is about the subsidies. The budget is passed where subsidies have been granted, and Aadhaar will be for how to implement those subsidies and given to the beneficiaries. Aadhaar has been passed as a money bill, but demonetization passed without any bill. Yes. Without any bill. And I tell you, there is a power with the president. President, when particular subject matter or particular decision has been implemented by the council, by any member of the council of ministers, maybe the prime minister or any minister, if he implements any decision and if that decision is not passed by the council of ministers, then the president will stay that decision and requisition will be sent to the council of ministers that the same decision will be considered, shall be considered in the cabinet, and decision should be arrived. And until that, the decision will be stayed. We were having our President Kovind, he did not act upon it. Yes. That is the biggest failure of the constitution. That is the biggest failure of the democracy. If the Aadhaar can be passed as a money bill, why not demonetization can be passed as a money bill in parliament? I don't understand this. And you have not asked this question to Modi. You did not ask this question to any government. Forget about Modi. Modi is a person. Like, you did not hold this government accountable that you should pass this as a money bill in the parliament. We didn't do that. So therefore, to protect the constitution, we must ensure that every decision the government takes must go through the rigors of the constitution. It must go through the rigors of the constitution. Second important thing I would tell you, that our country's name is India, that is Bharat. Means name of the country is India, because you see, India is not an English name, it comes from Indus. It's our own indigenous name. So India, that is Bharat. And India, that is Bharat. But our Prime Minister says Hindustan. Nobody holds him accountable. Our member parliamentarians are not holding him accountable. Now he has stopped saying this because we have built a campaign around it. We have asked him questions through Twitters. Now he is not saying Hindustan because he came up with an idea that Bharat. He came up with another idea that Bharat. India's name is not Bharat. It is India, that is Bharat. So nobody is holding him accountable for this. We must hold these people accountable. And for that we will have to bring a transparency in election process. We will have to bring a reform in election process. So these past years we have seen that, you see, our elected representatives are not representing us, but they are representing the political party. Because of the 10th schedule in the constitution. 10th schedule is unconstitutional. The 10th schedule says that you cannot go against the ideology of the political party. Constitution does not recognize the political party. It recognizes the elected representatives. It doesn't recognize political parties. So the most important factor is that these people are not accountable to us, to the people. We should bring change in our democratic process and ensure that these people are accountable to us, not to the political parties. So these things are very crucial. Supreme Court is exercising jurisdictions and placing itself above the Constituent Assembly. I'll tell you one example. I'm taking 2 minutes. It has evolved a collegium system. And in the collegium system, they have appropriated the power of a president to elect appointed judges. When Constituent Assembly was debating this issue, Babasaheb said a collegium system is a system which was akin to collegium system. Somebody has tried to introduce in the constitution while framing of the constitution. He said this is the most dangerous idea. But Supreme Court established the very same dangerous idea. And it's working since last 33 years. We have not held our Supreme Court accountable for this. It's time that we should hold these institutions accountable. And therefore we should build a public opinion. Like I tell you, that Keshwananda Bharati is being celebrated. So many people have, I wrote an article about it in newspaper. And I think one of the Supreme Court judge told me that this is one of the most nasty articles. So I said, the heading of my article was, the basic structure doctrine is a judicial coup against the Constitution. It has rendered whole Part 4, that is the directive principles of the state policy, a nullity. It has declared nullity. Part 4 cannot be implemented because of this Keshwananda Bharati judgment. Keshwananda Bharati judgment has prevented, I tell you, it has prevented the social justice enshrined in the Constitution. It has prevented the economic justice. It has prevented social justice. It has prevented so many things which could have been made for the people. And it has perpetuated the inequality in the society. But for the globalization, if this Keshwananda Bharati judgment was allowed to operate in this country, we would have been the most poorest country in the world. Most poorest country in the world. If people are poor in this country, it's because of Keshwananda Bharati judgment. So these kind of things, I tell you, are very, very important. We must work in tandem to build a public opinion in favor of equality, in favor of the Constitution, in favor of Ambedkar ideology, in favor of non-discrimination, and also in favor of Bahujan Raj. So thank you so much everyone for giving me an opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Now I will open our floor for questions and answers. If you have any questions, then you can ask.